What is the story, everybody? This is Jonathan, Cal, and Sean coming at you with yet another deck profile. We're finally getting to our PK lists after this. This is the deck profile that Sean took to Birmingham and bubbled, but he came third at a regional here in our very own UnderWorld Gaming. But as always, check the links in the description where you can find the link to Cons cards and use ChainBlock 5 for 5% off on your current and future purchases. The set coming out closest to this video is Maze of the Master. You know, again, the ancient gear set. But yeah, let's get into it.
Right, so as John said, I played this deck for two events. I played it for the Dublin Regional and I played it for YCS Birmingham. I unfortunately bubbled Birmingham due to some bad luck, some bad matchups, some bad hands. What can you do? I did absolutely love the list. A lot of theory went into this. Some of it paid off, some of it didn't. I'll talk about it as I go through. Basically, the philosophy was that Maliss is an extremely strong deck that really loses to Silver Bullets, most notably Lancia. And Chaos Hunter, as we saw in the finals.
Yeah, double.
So it wants its supplementary engines for both that and extra bodies. The school of thought is that you pick one of the main three being Fiendsmith, Kashtira, or Sky Striker, or now after that event, Bestial.
Yeah, so basically, if you ever have a deck building problem, 60 cards.
So yeah, that's what I did, is I decided to play pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of thought going into like how these should synergize and stuff, so I'll get into it anyway.
Yeah.
So for the Maliss stuff, I played very standard ratios. We're on 3 White Rabbit, 3 Dormouse, 2 Chessy Cat. I've seen people cut this to 1. Card is unbelievable. Easily my favorite of the 3. And then I played the 1 Dotscaper. People are cutting this, especially in 60. There's absolutely no reason to. And I kept drawing this all weekend.
Nice.
Brilliant normal summon. It was the one thing I kept breaking on that I didn't mind. Then, of course, you have 1 each of the traps.
Nice.
And the Heart and Soul, the 3 Malice and Underground.
Cool.
Obviously, any of the Malices except Chessy is full combo, as is the Field Spell.
Cool.
So obviously to search that, we have the one of Terraforming.
Nice.
I'd play 60 if I could.
I still can't believe Terraforming is banned in Master Duel, but that's neither here nor there.
So for the second engine, this is the one the single engine I was playing when I was at 40. I absolutely wouldn't cut it, and if I was to go down to 40 again, this is the one I'd keep playing.
Nice, yeah. Everyone's favorite.
Oh yeah, never dies.
Never dies.
So the main thing here is the synergy off Terraforming. You want a second target regardless of which one you open.
Makes sense.
So we're on 2 Pressure Planet Raid South. To go with our 1 Birth, 2 Unicorn, and 2 Fenrir.
Yeah.
These are excellent because they play really well with Shifter, which is not in this list.
It's in a lot of others though, so that
exactly.
makes sense. Yeah.
The other thing being that you want to be able to play under Shifter, which, for example, Fiendsmith struggles with.
Yeah.
But you also want to be able to play under Lancia, and this kind of can do both.
It can, yeah.
Whereas all the other engines are kind of one or the other. Birth is unbelievable. I use the Banish from Grave effect a whole bunch as well.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets about that. Unicorn, obviously everyone knows ripping from the extra deck, especially in such a Fiendsmith heavy format. Excellent. Fenrir really helps bolster the deck going second.
Yeah. No. Fenrir is still like a 3-card investment to get rid of sometimes.
So yeah, I ended up siding this out quite a bit, and just leaving in the Fenrirs going second.
Nice.
But it absolutely did its job. Would not cut a single one of these cards. They're absolutely excellent.
It's funny you say that people forget about the birth effect, because I did. Once at Birmingham.
Nice.
So then, the other thing about this is you end up leaving a lot of dead single cards on field. Be that an Underground that's already been used when you don't have all 3 traps banished, same with a Raid South. A Birth if you're not planning on using it for subsequent turns follow-up.
Yeah.
So to capitalise off that, as well as an engine that I just thought was really strong.
What engine sends cards off the field for free, Sean?
So we're on everyone's favourite deck from the last couple of formats.
Oh my god, the Spice!
3 Wanted!
No.
And 3 Diabellstar.
Ironic, because it's not wanted at all.
The free draw off Wanted combined with the Malice engine just basically refills your hand. It's kind of ridiculous. Diabell is great to open. Really lets you play with a lot of pressure on your opponent to use their hand traps early, because you know that if you leave something up dead, you can get rid of it.
Do you play a rank 7 XYZ?
I do not, but it was something that I considered.
That's a nice option.
There was about 70 or 80 cards I wanted in this extra deck.
Nice.
And unfortunately, you have to trim that down to 15.
It was a solid problem that we ran into in the build-up that he'd be messaging around everyone in the group who was going, and he'd be like, look, I've got like 40 cards this extra deck, and I need to cut it to 15.
Actually, for the regional, I made some minor changes in between, but I'd say over the course of the 2 events, I only changed about 5 cards.
Nice.
Originally, I was siding 2 extra deck monsters.
Yeah. I never liked doing that, but like sometimes it's,
For this deck, it was absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
So obviously, to go with these, we have the 2 Deception.
Nice.
This card was incredible, not only because it gives you the obvious Azumina access, but it really helps Maliss win in time, which is something you can struggle with if you can't get to a GWC easy enough.
Cool.
This gives you a net swing of 3,000 life points every time it resolves.
The secret effect.
Yeah, it's really, really powerful. Obviously, the 1 of Hollowed Azumina, you don't need more than 1.
No, never. No.
And then another target for Diabellstar I always like to play is Subversion, Snake Eye.
I mean, in 60, yeah.
People told me not to play this card. Every single person I spoke to said not to play this card. This is the single best card in the entire deck. The amount of times... Firstly, it was my main out to Chaos Angel.
Yeah, okay.
But the main thing is I put every detonator I ran up to in the back row.
Nice.
And they either have to chain it, which wastes the Eclipse Twins, or it just goes in the back row. And then you don't have to deal with it for the whole game.
Fair.
Yeah, as someone who was telling them to cut that, probably the most likely card to cutting it, after seeing what it was doing at Birmingham and people nearly pulling their hair out.
It was ridiculous.
Like, it got to a point where I've seen him up against a YuGiOh player, and he had 2 detonators in his back row. That's 2 death
2 detonators and a Chaos Angel had 2 back row zones, and all 3 of his boss monsters gone. The other thing is this is recurable removal. You put it back off wanted, you get the draw, and then you do it off Diabell the next
Search
turn.
it again,
which I did over and over and over again.
Nice.
It was unbelievable and genuinely the best card in this whole engine. I would play the engine just for the searchable subversion and the free draw. So then on to the last engine. So our deck produces a lot of bodies because we're on a huge bulk of just free shit.
Just before we get there, and I know everyone loves engines, so we're playing Kashtira. We're playing Wanteds in the Diabellstar Snake Eye engine, kind of, sort of. And now we're playing another really popular engine that people love to see in YouTube videos.
Actually, just before we start that, I should mention, for the regionals, which was where I got the top, the invite and all, I was on the 1 of Determination. I cut this for extra non-engine space alongside a couple other cards. I wish I hadn't.
Oh, okay, fair.
This card never came up while it was in the deck, and came up 3 or 4 times when it wasn't. Absolutely justifies the 1 in 60.
Okay.
So the final engine, everyone's favorite light fiends. We got 3 of the Greensmith.
Nice.
We got 1 Lacrima. Funny story, we were meant to be on 3. I actually wouldn't have played 3 if I had them, but they just didn't get delivered for like a month and a half.
No, people were panic buying Lacrimas.
We had bought ours well in advance. Both me and Callum were just unable to play them because they did not arrive.
Fair.
The 1 Lurie, of course. This was another one I kept drawing.
Nice.
It's a fine normal though, you just link it off. Double tracked in 60, you just want to increase your odds of seeing this engine a little bit. It also has a very nice interaction with a specific card in the side that was vastly overperforming as well.
Cool.
And then, of course, the 1 in Paradise that you said off the Lacrima. Extra Interrupt. I'm on both Caesar and Desiree. Caesar is this deck's main way to avoid getting nibbed.
Cool.
So you actually do end up with the Desiree in your extra after turn 1, even if you're going first pretty often, which means that the Paradise is often live.
Cool. Okay.
So now we have a bit of non-engine space.
Sweet.
You kind of want to maximize the impact of each card, because in 60 you're not likely to draw more than 1 or 2 per hand.
Okay.
So stuff like Ash Blossom and the like, as great as they are, just didn't make sense for a deck like this.
Yeah, no.
A lot of people in 60 card lists, it was super popular in Plant, I played it in Plant, is to go all in on Breakers. But I just didn't feel like they did enough into YCS or Maliss with their layered end boards this format. I don't think there's a specific breaker that does enough. So I went on small Bestial package of 2 Druids and 1 Mag, and then for Birmingham, in one of the extra slots I added a Baldrake. It was just a 4th Bestial, it was fine, but I almost wish I'd played a 3rd Druid instead.
Bestial synergize with the Maliss cards as well, don't they?
They do, but generally, if you have a Bestial and Maliss cards on field, you should win that game anyway.
Cool, okay.
In case I haven't mentioned, all of these engines are supplementary and they can play on their own, and there was many games where I had to play them on their own. But they are there to supplement the Maliss engine. This is a Maliss deck with everything else in it.
Nice, okay.
So your aim is still to get to those cards. I was on Triple Nibiru.
Makes sense.
This is just the highest impact individual hand trap that's not Lancia or Droll, and there wasn't much that I wanted to draw this format.
Nib's good at the moment.
A lot of... now, admittedly, a lot of players didn't have to, but there was a lot of Maliss and Roisiel who went a little too far, even knowing that this card was common. It did the job. 3 Imperm, I think this card is amazing. It's probably the lowest impact hand trap that I would still play in a list like this.
That's what I mean. People think Imperm is not good for some reason because it specifically isn't great against Detonator. But there's thousands of other cards that it's great into. So.
Well, the other thing is I was using this to force the Detonator once to get the Eclipse Twins off.
Exactly.
Because once the Eclipse Twins is gone, the card I mentioned in the side synergizes with the Fiendsmiths and the Subversion. Make it really easy to remove. You've just got to use one of their lives, per se, and Imperm is great for that. The other thing is, for a lot of weaker Maliss hands, if you stop the White Binder, you stop the turn.
Cool.
So I like that card. The other reason I played Imperm is because I'm on 3 Thrust.
Fair.
And it's a good going first target for that you don't have to side before using.
Nice, okay.
To go with that course, I'm on 2 Talents.
Nice.
You could play 1. I liked 2.
I'm so happy.
I liked opening it.
So happy with the next card. I think the next card is one of the best cards.
This was a card I was dubious of and overperformed
so good.
at both events.
It's so good.
Was triple Book of Eclipse in main. This card is incredible. It stops every deck if you set it going first. It interacts with most end boards if you're going second, except basically just Maliss if they're ending heavy on links.
Most of the time, if you activate this when they're going second, and they draw 2 cards at the end phase, but it doesn't matter because they're dead.
Exactly. The other thing is, like I mentioned, everything in here is to facilitate Maliss. Maliss really, really struggles with Caesar specifically. It can play through a lot of layered boards, it can play through a lot of negates, but a Caesar early in the turn is almost unbeatable if you can't interact with it. Imperm and this both completely turn it off, which is part of the philosophy. The other thing is, there's so much gas in this deck that if they ash this going second, if they're playing low to the ground, which they kind of have to, you just get to go off to the races a lot of the time. Because this deck can play through 2 or 3 hand traps pretty easily. It's just getting that 4th one or the Solemn or whatever out of the way. And then card number 60, Called by the Grave.
Finally, I was getting worried that it
if you open it, it's unbelievable. If you don't open it, it's another card in 60. There's absolutely no reason not to play it.
Where it's dead as well. There's always something in the graveyard that's warranting a hit with the card.
I used it as a trap card so often. If they didn't hand trap me and they're on breakers, you just remove something from the grave. In the Maliss Mirror, it's unbelievable. So anyways, that's the 60 card main deck. The other thing about this is it's very preference based. You can play different engines if you want to play different engines or if you don't want to spend the money on certain things. But I can vouch that I have put the hundreds of hours into optimizing this philosophy of deck. If you want to play a list like this, you play mine.
Another thing as well for Sean's case here, in the regional, he performed so well against their incredible decks. It was just unfortunately the last person that you played up against, you got paired up against, was on a very unknown deck to the Underworld scene at the time.
I mean, unbelievable player. Was on a deck I hadn't really prepared for. Was playing a lot of non-engine, like for example Super Poly that I wasn't prepared for. But he ended up coming first. That was my only loss.
Which deck was that?
Most of my rounds were 2-0s.
It was Memento.
No one's prepared for Memento.
Memento actually took quite a few spots at Birmingham. I think it's a very solid rogue
I
option
think
this
there was
format.
2 in top 16 or something like that.
So yeah, again, played at the regional, did incredible. Played it at Birmingham, had some unfortunate luck, but I'm still very happy with how the deck itself performed.
Cool.
So on to the extra. This is the hardest part to build.
Okay.
You have 15 slots.
Yes.
You have 100 cards you need to play.
Yes.
You need to pick out the ones you need the least over and over until you're left with 15.
Fair, okay.
So you can argue with any specific card in this, and I wouldn't blame you. But I can tell you, I put in the work, and over the vast majority of hands, this is what you need the most.
Cool.
You play 1 each of the Maliss links.
Makes sense.
Each of these cards is incredible in its own right.
Cool.
Hard Scripter was a card I don't think I was using to its full potential before. This is everything you could ever want it to be.
Cool.
There was a lot of turns where I was getting heavily interrupted, and just summoning that off the trap was putting in work on its own.
Did you have any consideration of playing a second white binder, considering that it's quite choke point for the Maliss?
It is a big choke point. The thing is, again, part of the philosophy of this deck is if you have to play into, for example, a unicorn or whatever else, and you end up losing access to one engine, you just play the other 3. If you lose your white binder early in the game, you can still play a bit of Maliss. You just play less of it. Which might sound counterintuitive, but I promise you it does work. The other thing is you need some way to extend into these on a Maliss start. The best of these is Haggard Lizard.
Let's go.
This has secondary applications as well, because you can banish it off its own effect to draw one.
Yeah, you can.
Which clears your board for Kashtira's past turn.
Yeah.
You really got to make a consideration for every card you're playing in the main with every extra deck choice you make. So the fact that this covers multiple engines is very strong for us.
Very nice.
For the Azaminas, I really wanted to play Saint. For the regional, I was siding Saint for the Ryziel matchup and for the mirror. It was excellent. We just didn't have the space, and it wasn't coming in enough. So we're just on the Ilya Silva and the Murcielago.
Yeah, the standard stuff. Let's go.
Murcielago was incredible because it's a second chance to search the Subversion going second.
Of course.
As well as a free body. Both of these were brilliant. Wouldn't change them. So here's the main thing. Some of you who've been playing a while will remember back in the day, any 2 monsters used to be full Orcust combo. In this deck, any 2 monsters is Moon of the Closed Heaven, which goes us into the Fiendsmith line, which means any bodies you summon are not dead.
Did they just ban Moon? Is that like?
I think it's dead already.
Yeah,
it's gotten the OTS super, it's in every deck list.
Yeah.
So of course to go with that, we have the 1 Requiem, the 1 Sequence.
Of course, yeah.
Unbelievable cards. Desiree pulls double duty with the trap, of course.
Yes.
And then I really went back and forth on whether I wanted to play these or not. But Necroquip and Caesar, just Maliss was a deck I really expected to run into a lot, and I was right. Caesar eats that deck alive. Absolutely. If they do not open, for example, an Imperm or an Eclipse or another way to interact with that card, it is very difficult for them to get over on its own, never mind paired with other interaction. Here is a card I have been playing since Maliss came out that people have caught on to recently.
Big advocate of this card in many formats.
Nightmare Griffin.
Good card.
You reset the GWC off this. It is a Light Fiend for follow-up. It is skill drain for your opponent if they're on Ryziel. It does absolutely everything. This card is unbelievable, and I actually did play a second rank 4. But we'll get into that in a sec. The other card is SP Little Knight. The utility this provides by banishing your own stuff going first, and by being an interrupt going second, and removal going second. Look, it had an €100 price tag not that long ago.
Yeah, no,
it justifies its spot very well. And in terms of just single link 2 to make, you know, you get link locked by the Maliss stuff. This is just where you go.
It's not a bad link monster, no.
So the final card I played was a Baoku.
Nice. Fairly new card.
For the regional, I couldn't get this in time. So I played Firewall Dragon, which was fine. Firewall Dragon is much, much better in 40, and if you play Dimension Shifter. I was not on either, so I felt like it underperformed, but it still was an interrupt Link 4 that you can make. Abel was a much better card. However, something that I ran into with the bad hands at Birmingham was that I really needed to focus more, not on the floor or the ceiling necessarily, but on bridging a weaker combo towards a stronger one. I found I was one body short very often for making a second Link 3, so I wish I had played Link Decoder. Originally, I felt that this deck had enough free bodies that you never needed the Link 1, which generally proved true. But in terms of drawing like bad hands, you have 1 or 2 extenders, 3 essentially bricks, or you've drawn a full house, stuff that's mathematically unlikely but still happens. This just comes up more. And it's not even the fact that it's a Link 1, it's the Summon from Grave that I really missed. But this card, assuming you aren't as unlucky as me, is very, very, very strong. It pairs great with the Fiendsmith stuff. It can revive your Maliss stuff from Grave. It can tag itself out. It draws a bunch of cards, which this deck is very good at doing.
Sounds like it.
It does a lot. It's a really excellent card. I wasn't sorry I played it. I just found that a card I hadn't expected to come up did.
Nice. Okay.
So I feel like it's worthwhile to make mention of both. So that was the extra deck. Finally, we're onto the side. This is another one where you simply don't have enough space. So the philosophy I had was, once I know what my opponent's on, I just need a card that will win the game against them.
Okay.
So, for example, in those very low to the ground lists that are very popular, stuff like Fiendsmith Ryziel that's trying to end on 3 or 4 hand traps in hand.
Yeah.
We're on Crossout Designator.
Makes sense.
This deck summons a whole bunch. No matter what you do, you're going to have to summon a bunch. So you do not want to get Charmied. I did not play Perulia because you actually don't summon from hand too often if you don't need to.
Yeah.
You do that after you know they don't have the Perulia. These two are pretty much unavoidable for any combo that gets you anywhere.
Yeah, okay.
So I played those two. I did draw Fulos more than once after siding it in at the regional, and I won every game I dropped it, so that says a lot. Of course, stuff to negate. Ash Blossom. Droll is a real problem for this deck. I actually didn't run into a Droll at either event, but if I had, I'd be glad it was in here. You do just lose to it. Artifact Lancia. This card will kill you. I lost this card more than anything else the entire weekend.
Yeah, it's in pretty much every
I
side.
got double lanced or triple lanced at least once every single round at Birmingham. For 9 rounds.
Nice.
There was not a single opponent who only dropped 1. Of course, that pulls double duty in the mirror with Sanctum as a trust target. You only need 1 for both of these.
Sweet.
You just do whatever you need to. Similarly, Dimensional Barrier. I did not like my matchup into Mitsurugi Ryziel.
Fair.
More so even than setting this in for Pure. This did the job. It also had some utility into Rogue. It patched up a match I played against Atlantean.
Nice.
Just by calling the Xyz, they couldn't get to the Gaios or whatever.
I was just checking, I forgot that you can actually call Ritual.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Nice.
It also came up versus an invoked Azumina player I ran into.
Just playing Invoked, man.
Well, I mean, Blue Eyes wasn't out yet.
No, shit.
So I turned off Fusion into invoked Azumina, as you might guess. Pretty easy game from that point. In terms of the only breaker I actually felt was worthwhile, Droplet puts in insane work in this deck. You're ending on like 9 cards on field between like set cards and birth and field spells and your monsters. You're drawing like 4 or 5 times in the combo. You never run out of fodder for this card.
Cool.
And the fact that it's a quick effect and it hits the attack, it's just unbelievable. Incredible into Fiendsmith Ryziel. One of Duster.
Makes sense.
If you need to thrust, basically at the Birmingham Regional, multiple Labyrinth topped. So I wanted a card that would beat them.
Right.
And
I mentioned the next card so many times, and people laughed at me.
The final card in this deck put in
telling you.
unbelievable work.
Yeah. I said it in front of Rasabor, and he was shocked for a solid 30 seconds. Couldn't say it.
Most boards in this format, be them ending on their Desiree, their Detonator, their Maliss, there is a card that you need to remove, and then you can play into the rest. But there's always one card that says no YuGiOh.
Yeah, we are in big monster format. Definitely.
So Kaijus are very good, but I'm on 60 cards. I'm not going to draw a Kaiju, but I can search Santa Claus, the Light Fiend.
Ho, ho, ho.
Getting this off tracked won me games that I should not have won.
Nice, yeah.
Genuinely should not have won. This card put in unbelievable work. It's never making it to their end phase for the draw to matter. I Kaiju'd people and then talents this back to go Fiendsmith combo.
It's a level 6 Light Fiend. It makes the season.
It's an incredible card, and I'm so glad I played it. So that is the list. 15, 15, 60. It's pretty full. It took a lot of work, took a lot of theory. It performed exactly how I wanted it to. So if you all try it out, I hope it works as well for you. If people are looking for test hands, for a combo video, for whatever, let us know in the comments below. I'll be sure to put one up. I'm happy to talk about this deck at great length if people are interested.
Cool. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more ChainBlock content, and we're trying to hit 14k subs. Smash that, and see you.